Welcome everyone to today's undergraduate briefings. I'm Kan Min Yen, or just Min. I'm the Vice Dean of Undergraduate Studies here at SoC. And just for your information, there are slides available for you to view. It's just a copy of what we are going to give you in this briefing. You can see either the slides or this recording at these two locations. All right. So about this course briefing is meant for students pursuing the Bachelor of Computing or the Bachelor of Science in Business Analytics, these two degrees here. There's a separate briefing that's going to be conducted for those of you in the computer engineering program. That will be delivered by the joint academic committee from both CDE as well as SoC. We're not going to cover on all of the details, but it'll cover most of the information about the general degrees available from SoC. But you need to also attend the detailed program briefings because these will tell you more information that's necessary for you to understand details of what's going on. These will be held later on at 2:30 in the afternoon on July 10th. So just to recap, we have a number of different degrees that we offer in School of Computing. We have 2 degrees that are offered by the Computer Science Department. They're indicated here in orange, the Information Security Program, or InfoSec, as well as the Computer Science degree, which we just call CS. Our Department of Information Systems and Analytics offers the Information Systems degree as well as the Business Analytics degree. And jointly with the College of Design and Engineering, we have the Computer Engineering program, which you can see here. Okay. As I said earlier, that will be a separate briefing that will be offered to those of you in the program. Now, within the information security program, there is a cooperative program. That means that you work as well as study at the same time. Those of you who are interested in this program will need to attend the department briefing done by the CS department, which will tell you a bit more about that. If you're interested in this, you have a period of about 5 days, okay, from this time to here, okay, about 5 days to decide whether you want to apply for this program. And if you do, please send an email with the prescribed application form to Diana Wong, who is an administrator in our undergraduate office, and she'll be able to help you out with that. Now, this briefing could be boring, but I want you to pay attention to some key attributes about what's going on in SoC with respect to your degree. I'd like you to see whether you can check off this checklist, okay? Whether you can find points in the slides that address these essential qualities, okay? For example, figuring out who has priority for securing a spot for a popular course. This is often a very important thing that students want to know, okay? Also about how that you can get industry experience, to get a good job later on after you've graduated. And for me, very importantly, even though it's a bit more punitive, is to make sure students understand how academic dishonesty is taken seriously. So I'd like you to spend a little bit of time looking through this list and making sure that you can find all of these post going through the briefing. Okay, today's talk is structured in 6 segments. We're first going to go over course and grades, which is what we're talking about now. Okay, but after that, we're going to cover curriculum structure and degree options, course registration, enrichment and activities, challenges and advice, and then finally, a section which I'm not going to narrate, it's just useful information that you should take down and refer to when you have questions. So the first thing you want to do is search for course information about what you're going to do during each semester or term that you're here. The easiest way to do this is to use NUS mods. So this is a really easy resource to find. Probably many of you have already used it. It contains information about courses, as well as the class and timetables for the actual sessions within the course, and then helps you plan for classes because it has a timetable which you can instantiate for your own purposes. So here's a picture of one of the courses that you'll take probably in your third, maybe even your second year, called Introduction to AI and Machine Learning. It's a core part of what we teach at these points in time because AI and machine learning is so central to computer science these days. So this course page is from NUS Mods, and you'll notice a couple things. Okay. First are prerequisites that you have to fulfill in order to take this course. So for example, it says here, if you're taking this course, you'll need to have completed at least some of the programming modules that are listed here, some of the math requirement modules, as well as discrete maths, which are listed in the second line, and other information that you'll need to require that you have to take, which are all math modules. You'll also need to make sure that you're not taking other competing courses in order to take this course. So for example, we have an old section of courses that were available to students previously that separates AI, which is this course, from machine learning, which is this other course. Okay, in the way we're doing it now, we've combined both of these courses and given an introduction to both in this class. This is why those separate modules are precluded. You scroll down a little bit more, you'll see a little bit more about how this course is taught. For example, here, it gives you rough timing about how this course is taken up. Okay, in part, there are 10 hours that you'll need to spend during this work. Okay, so there's 2 hours of lecture, okay, 1 hour of tutorial, 2 hours of labs, and other time that you'll need for doing your project and preparation. And below in the timetable that I've taken a screenshot for, you can see the sections for tutorial. In the green 1 hour will be one of these orange boxes below. And lecture is common. It'll be done in 2 different places depending on where you're sitting, either physically or online, and it'll be held from Friday from 10 to 12. Okay, so that's in the case of the lecture, the blue hours there. Basically, almost all basic courses in NUS take up 4 units of time. That means over 4 units is roughly equivalent to a workload of, like it says here, of about 10 hours, okay? So if you see a course with more than 4 units, it'll be accordingly, proportionally more workload than 10 units. If you have courses that are less than 4 units, it'll be, of course, accordingly less. A standard student here at SoC usually takes about 20 units a semester. So if you divide that through, that's about 5 courses, so about 50 hours a week of work that you'll need to do in total. So that's full time, as you can see, it's more than the normal standard working week of 40 hours. Okay, so you'll also at some point be able to see the timetable information for courses. They've also taken out the prerequisite tree, which is a really nice feature, but I think that'll be coming back pretty soon. All right, now maybe you're thinking about which courses to take, but you can also take courses in different modes. You can take them with a letter grade. You can take them as compulsory, satisfactory, or unsatisfactory. Or in certain cases, instead of taking the letter grade, you can decide to take it and revoke the letter grade and change it to satisfactory or unsatisfactory. So let's review all 3 of these modes. The first basic one is, of course, taking it with a letter grade. So you obtain a letter grade at the end of the course. It's going to be one of these options, A plus A minus, B plus B minus, and C and D only have C plus and D plus. There's no C minus or D minus. okay, you'll note that they get converted into a score upon 5, okay, where 5 is standing for A or A plus. Both of these are the same, okay? These are the only two that have the same value. So it doesn't help too much to get an A plus. You just have to do well enough to get a 5 or an A, okay? You don't want to do too poorly either, okay? If you fail a course, it will be an F, and it will count towards not passing the course, and it'll hurt your grade point average, okay? So like it says in the big box there in red, F does count towards the calculation of your performance. Even though you failed the course, you will have to repeat it in many cases. There are other courses that the university compels you to take that are only for satisfactory or unsatisfactory credit. So it won't influence your grade point average. It won't influence it or affect it, okay? So these courses, there's no option for the student to decide whether they want to letter grade or not. It will just happen that way. However, many times, even if you want to take it for letter grade, later on, you can switch it to a satisfactory or unsatisfactory, okay? This is a scheme to make grades less stressful, okay? To encourage students to try courses outside of their fields of study. Okay, there's more information at the link, okay? So for example, if you have taken a course and you think it's going to pull down your average grade, you may want to change it to a satisfactory grade instead of a letter grade. And so the key point about this is that grade is no longer going to be included in the calculation of your GPA, okay? Now, obviously, you still need to pass the course. So that means you need a grade of at least passing, even if it's done poorly, to convert that grade to an S, okay? An F is considered unsatisfactory, so it's no good to do that. When do you exercise these options? Well, it will depend. You have a 3-day window, okay, to finish deciding whether you want to change a letter grade into an S or U grade. Okay, most people would change it to an S. If you fail, there's no real help to change it to a U. Okay, except to get rid of the calculation into your GPA. Okay, now after the results come, you only have those 3 days. Okay, and you can only exercise it for ones that you've done within the same academic year. Okay, once you have done this task, whatever choices you make are irrevocable. So you can't come back later in the year and say, well, you know that SU that I did, I changed my B plus into an S, but actually a B plus is better than my average grades now. So I'd like to revoke it, okay? So you can't do that. There's no going back and revoking the history. Once you've decided to take the SU option, it stands. If you decide to take the letter grade after the option to SU is expired, then you also cannot change it. So NUS practices this grade-free scheme, okay? This is, again, to encourage you to take courses beyond what you might be comfortable with, to try to pan out your horizons and see whether there are other courses and subject matter that would be of interest to you, okay? Now, the SU option is then used to help you deal with this. So you can take SUs for level 1000 courses, introductory courses, okay, level 2000 courses where they're not prerequisites that are necessary, okay? You can also apply them to level 2000 modules on communication or ideas and exposition that are offered by the Center of English Language and Communication or from the UTown faculty. Okay, and also language courses at all levels, whether it's 1000 all the way to 4000, that are offered by the Center of Language Studies or FASS or Yale NUS College are all fine. Okay, you cannot exercise this option on courses that you have to drop because of an F grade, okay, or which a student has been found to do some disciplinary matter. Basically, if you have some problem with your course besides just poor performance, you won't be able to do SU. The enhanced grade-free semester will allow you to take up to 32 units, okay, of courses in the first academic year. So if you divide by 4, that's basically 8 courses, 8 out of 10 courses that you might take if you're doing a regular workload that you can change to a grade-free, okay? If not fully utilized, you can use the rest of the SUs in subsequent semesters for up to 12 units. You can't save more than 12 that you might not utilize. Okay, now there are some variations on what you can do with SU, and the details are in the slides. Okay, they apply only for certain students, for example, some polytechnic students who have advanced placement credits, students who are coming from a previous university that will allow them to take less or more credits. Okay, so taking a grade and then transferring it into SU is very simple, right? Basically, any grade which you have done enough to pass the module is considered a satisfactory grade. So this is very nice because you can take these low grades towards the bottom here, all of the ones down here. And if you think your average score is better than that, you can safely convert them to SU and now bring your grade point average up. Okay, now do be careful that if you pass a course, even with a D or D plus, you're not allowed to repeat the course. This is really important. If you feel like your first semester or second semester courses, which are foundational for SoC, you're really not doing well and you're almost getting a failing grade, it might be better just to try to fail the course and retake it in a second semester and do better. So how do you calculate your GPA? It's actually not so difficult, right? We take the conversion that we saw on the last slide, which takes your grade and converts it to an integer in the range of 0 through 5. Then we multiply it by the units and divide through to get an average, okay? Now, importantly, to graduate from SoC and any degree in NUS, you must obtain an average GPA of at least 2. Let's take an example, okay? Here we have a student who took 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 modules, okay? 6 courses, sorry. All right, they received the grades as indicated here, right? All right, so now we want to do the conversion. First, we want to fill out the points column. This is easy because we've done the mapping already. So it's just basically 4 times 5 or 20, okay? Then we have 12, 12, 14, and 6, okay? The last course, quantitative reasoning, we've changed into an S. It's actually done that way, so it doesn't count as units. So we can strike that off, okay? In total, we have a number of courses that we've taken, and our grade point average is going to be 64. Okay, and since we crossed out the S course here, we have a total of 5 courses that we've taken. So 5 times 4 is 20. So to get your final grade point average, the one for the semester will be just 64 divided by 20, or 3.2. Okay, so if the student is actually in their second semester and she actually achieved a better score of 4.0 in the last semester with a total of 24 units, just like this case, okay, 6 courses, but 4 of them again were SU. Okay, then we actually have 20 minus 4, sorry, 24 minus 4, that's 20 units of courses that she did and got a score of 4.0. Okay, so that's going to be 80. All right, and then we have this other 64 here, right? So I have 64. Okay, and then I'm going to take this sum and divide it through by the total number of units that this student has done. Okay, 40. and I'm going to get back a total of 3.6. That's her current GPA for all 2 semesters. All right, to continue into the next semester, SoC keeps checks on you. We want to make sure all students are doing well. In your first and second semester, basically, we don't worry too much. Even if you're doing not so great, we'll let you proceed. But during the second semester, we'll start to worry and be concerned about you. So there'll be advisory for students that don't seem to be doing very well despite having a grade-free scheme to change poor grades into S's. From the third semester onwards, we apply a regular rule. If students are found that their GPA overall, okay, not just their semester, but their overall GPA is less than 2, okay, you'll be put on probation for 1 semester. If you continue this way for 2 semesters in a row, then you'll be dismissed from our school, okay? Of course, we're going to try to help you a lot. So people on probation are asked to go in for counseling from our academic advisors. They will help you try to bring up your GPA by helping you understand what type of workload works for you and how to choose courses that aren't too difficult. With that in mind, a normal honors degree in SoC is 4 years, okay? But basically, each semester or term, you take 5 classes or 20 units, somewhere around there, okay? So if you do this for 8 semesters or 4 years, you will have finished the degree, which is roughly 160 units, okay? So I'll write that down for you. Each term, roughly 20 units, okay, times 8 terms, that yields 160 units, okay, which is our usual single degree that we get, okay? If you can't finish it in time for whatever reason, whether it's due to personal circumstances, you're trying something out, okay, like doing a startup or going overseas or taking time off, then a maximum candidature of 5 years applies to you. Those of you who are doing double degrees, okay, challenging something more complex than the normal single degree program, your unit count will be higher than 160. And therefore, the maximum candidature for you will be 6 years. When you graduate, on your transcript, aside from the GPA, the registrar will translate that into a classification. Those of you earning the highest distinction will have achieved a GPA of 4.5 or above, basically an A average, okay? Those of you in B or C ranges will have one of the other classifications, okay? So you can see here we have basically A grades, A minus, B plus, etc., okay? On a rough scale like that, okay? Again, if you are below 2.0, unfortunately, you will not graduate from SoC. You'll have failed your degree program. But again, like I said, there are plenty of ways that we will try to help you not achieve that outcome. Now, these days, lectures, assignments, and examinations are held in many different forms. Sometimes lecturers will record their lectures or do them through Zoom, okay? They may be used along with reading materials or answer sketches. For some courses, especially some at the higher levels, you might find that exams are less emphasized and you might have continuous assessment all the time, okay? That means there's no exam at the end of the course. For those of courses that do have exams, some of them may be conducted in electronic format. So you have to read the electronic exam standard operating procedure that you can find here. You'll need to access that using the NUS net account that you'll be provided with when school starts. Now, I know this is something that nobody likes to hear, but academic integrity and student discipline is really, really important. To graduate from the school of computing, we need to know that you can actually do the assigned tasks, okay? So you will be liable for suspension or expulsion from the university if you conduct things in a non-upright, non-academic integrity manner, okay? We highly suggest that you read through Statute 6 and Regulation 10 that tell us how, as students, we're supposed to behave. If in doubt about what counts as plagiarism, like if I share my homework assignment, does that count as plagiarism? It counts as an academic integrity issue, okay? So these types of things you need to understand and enforce for your own good to prevent yourself as well as your peers who might be asking for favors from getting in trouble. Finally, these days, I'm sure you've heard there are lots of AI tools like ChatGPT out there that can, for many cases, complete homework assignments outright, okay? Using them in an appropriate manner is fine, but there are certain courses that rightfully disallow this because the material in the course requires you to master it on your own without the help of AI tools. If in doubt, talk with your lecturer. I'm sure they'll have a good time entering a dialogue with you about what's the appropriate role of AI tools. Let's go through two examples. SoC is the SoC mascot. He's in his final semester. His current GPA is 3.35, and his total number of units accumulated so far is 142. He intends to graduate this semester by taking an extra 20 units, okay? Now he wants to achieve a distinction for his classification. How could he do that? Well, by getting 3.5 or above, maybe he can get a better class, okay? So here in this case, we're not going to assume any SU options, okay? So how can we solve this problem? We need to know what the G is, okay, what the destined grade is. So first, we're going to say I've taken 142 units and I've achieved 3.35, okay? Now I'm going to add that to another 20 units that I'm going to take this semester, but I don't know what grade I'm going to get, okay? I need to solve for that. That's called G, okay? And I'm going to take all of this and divide it by the total number, which is 142 plus 20, or 162, okay? And I'm going to require that this sum, whatever I solve for here, is going to have to be bigger or equal to 3.50, because that's what I want, okay? By rearranging this equation, we can get the answer. So G must be greater than 162 times 3.5, okay? That was from the side on the right side, minus what I'm currently doing, right? So I have 142 times 3.35, okay? And then that is the amount of points that I need to get for this semester, but I've taken 20 points, so I'm going to divide that through. I'm going to solve this, and I get 4.57, okay? So that is how much I have to do this semester in my final semester. I have to get mostly A's, right? Because it says here's 4.57, okay, in order to pull my GPA up from a 3.3 to a 3.5. Okay, so to do that, it's actually not so easy, okay? Because SoC has been in school for quite a number of semesters, pulling up the grade point average is not easy, okay? You can do it, okay? Depends on how well you take your courses. So for example, I get 4 A minuses and 1 A, or I get 2 B's and 3 A's, 2 B pluses and 3 A's, okay? Both of these result in the same 4.6 average, which exceeds the 4.57, okay? So you can see if I just get one B and one B plus on the third row, there's no way I can achieve a 4.57 or above GPA, and I won't be able to succeed in my mission. Okay? The moral of the story here is that you want to be able to set a good record early on because the momentum that you establish will help you throughout the semester. Here's the second example. So Linus is the NUS mascot. He's not doing so well. His total units accumulated is 40. So he's maybe in his second semester, ending his first year. And he's got a 1.49, okay? Close to failing, right? Sort of down towards this bottom area. Okay, he intends to take 20 units this semester to achieve a GPA of at least 2.0 to avoid failing out of SoC. What should be his average grade for the coming semester in order to achieve that? Again, let's just take the example that there's no SU, okay? So I need to do the following. I need to say I have 60 units at 2.0, okay? And I'm going to subtract away what I've already done, okay? 40 units at 1.49. Okay, hold on a second here. And then I'm going to divide through that, and I can find the result of 3.2. Okay, so I'll just go ahead and show that. And the example here is that it's actually fairly easy to do it earlier, right? Because Linus has only been in school for 2 semesters. So even getting B's and B pluses is enough to pull Linus out of a failing state, and he'll be taken off probation. Okay, the curriculum, degree, and structure are the second part of our briefing. So the overview of the single degree is actually fairly simple, all right? We have unrestricted electives that take up 40 units. These are things that you can take for any course within NUS, okay, as long as you satisfy the prerequisites. You have the common curriculum, which is what SoC asks you to do and the university asks you to do. It's common for all degrees within SoC, okay? And then you have the program requirements. These are dictated by your particular degree. So if you look at that, that looks like 4 pieces of a pie. So 2 years you'll be spending roughly on doing things related to your degree. 1 year you'll be taking things whatever you'd like, and 1 year on things that the university says that you should take. So let's start with the degree requirements. You need to fulfill all 3 sets of that pie that I showed you earlier. That's number 1. Then you must be able to complete your degree with a grade point average of at least 2. We've talked about that several times. We also want to make sure you're not taking only introductory level courses, okay? Because level 1000 modules are basic. So we want to make sure that you have depth in the knowledge that you graduate with, okay? For that reason, we also need you to accomplish no more than 60 units. That's about somewhere between a third to a half of your degree. There's also a residency requirement. So what does this mean? A residency requirement means that you're actually doing most of your program here physically at NUS, okay? For most students, that means at least 50% of the required units, okay? For most people, out of the 160 for a single degree program, okay, that means about 80 units or 2 years needs to be done here at NUS, okay? If you go for exchange or you're transferring in, then in order to get the degree, at least 50% needs to be done here, okay? So those units must be earned from NUS courses with assigned grades or ones with S and CS grades. If you're a Polytechnic graduate, you will also get advanced placement credits. You'll get 20%, 20 units, sorry, about half of the unrestricted electives that you have to do are already satisfied in recognition of your prior experience from poly. Okay, these are importantly not included in the limit for 60 units at level 1000. Okay, and depending on your polytechnic diploma, you will get up to another 20 units off from your program requirements, depending on how well it coincides with the degree that you're currently taking. There are also university level requirements and the common curriculum. Okay, so these are university level requirements, and these are ones imposed by SoC, our faculty level requirements that are in the common curriculum. Okay, the university compels every student to take one course for each of the 6 general education or GE pillars. Okay, now some of these pillars are specific to particular programs. Okay, so this means that we can substitute some of our own program requirements as a university level requirement, which is nice. It's a way of double counting for your requirements. Okay, also for the common curriculum, we have a couple courses that you must take to fulfill. Okay, so for example, the computing ethics course, which is 4 units, and interdisciplinary courses, ID courses, as well as cross-disciplinary courses. They need to total up 12 units around 3 courses that you have to take. Okay, there's a basket of these courses that you can take to satisfy this common curriculum. For program requirements, about 40 units, okay, these will be broken down into things that are essential to master that degree, okay, as well as electives, meaning that you can take several courses within a basket to fulfill what you need to graduate for business analytics or computer engineering or computer science degree, for examples, okay? And finally, the unrestricted electives that you have on the other side. Okay, so I think these numbers are wrong. I'll get them fixed later. This should be 80 and this should be 40. Okay, and I think the colors are maybe a little bit off. Okay, but the unrestricted electives, they're 40 units. They are courses from SoC that or from other faculties that make up the total degree requirement of about 160 for single degrees. General education, as part of the common curriculum, basically has 6 pillars. Okay, so 6 times 4 is 24. So they're regular courses that you have to take. There's a basket of courses that satisfies each of the pillars. Okay, cultures and connections, critique and expression, data literacy, digital literacy, Singapore studies, and communities in engagement. These are all courses that NUS feels that is laying the foundation for important life skills. And because they're pillars and foundations, students are strongly encouraged to complete these courses within the first 2 years of your candidature. So these university level requirements, they are going by different prefixes. So when you look them up in NUS mods, you can see culture and connection as GEC. Critique and expression for SoC students, we take ES 2660, okay, for CS students under the CS program, okay? If you're in another program, there may be another module that you're satisfied with, okay? For data literacy and digital literacy, again, being from SoC, we can double count some parts of this. So data literacy, we take as programming, and there are many different variations of basic programming that you can take. CS 1010, there are a number of different letters associated with it, as well as CS 1101S, okay? Programming methodology, those are for all core students who are homed in School of Computing. For digital literacy, very similar. For BZA students, you have BT 1101. And for Singapore studies and community engagement, they are more like the first one, okay, where you have a basket of modules, but we don't have any modules that allow you to double count. Please note that some programs especially those of you who are in the UTOwn program, who are with RVRC or NUSC, need to follow the curriculum established by those respective colleges. For program major requirements in a little bit more depth, these are all things that you have to take for letter courses because they're essentials, okay? Most of the time, these will include 2 to 3 programming courses that need to be taken because, well, SoC is about computing, so there's computer programming involved, okay? So it'll be dependent on what types of modules are specific to your program, okay? Some of the sample ones are here, like CS 1010, CS 2030, which is a follow-on for 1010, and data structure, so which is 2040, which is after that, okay? There's also a number of program electives that you'll have to take later on that allows you to choose courses from a basket so that you can fulfill some type of specialization or interest area within your degree program. So a recap and summary of how it works. Yeah, program requirements. These are specific to your degree, all right? And these are broken down to ones that are essential as well as electives. They will include things like your internship and some of your poly advanced placement credits, if you're coming from Polytechnic, also will fulfill these requirements. When you get to unrestricted electives, okay, where everything goes, again, if you're taking it from Poly, some of the units will be taken up here, about half, okay? If you're considering a second major or minor or other things, many of your unrestricted electives will be taken up by that so that you don't have to spend overly long in your program, okay? Our common curriculum, which is the third part, we said already that university requirements from NUS make up this, as well as ethics, cross-disciplinary and interdisciplinary courses, okay? And this is the program, like it says here, for the single degree. If you're doing a concurrent degree or a double degree program, they'll require more units to graduate, more than 160. Okay, so with that, we've talked about single degrees, but if you want to get more money's worth and time's worth, and you're not worried about the academic challenge, you can consider doing more. You can do a double degree, you could do a second major, or you could do a minor. And you can do specializations. Specializations happen within the current major that you're doing, okay? So there are lots of ways to do this, right? Many times, if you look at a separate degree, you might want to take the program requirements, okay? And then the common curriculum and unrestricted electives, you don't need to count again, right? Because you're already fulfilling that over here, okay? So that's the way that you can come out with NUS with even more knowledge than a regular student who's doing a single degree, okay? We can do this by, in some cases, allowing us to double count, okay? But again, if you have requirements that are common to both the second major, a minor, as well as the specialization, we can't triple count them. So this is a no-no, okay? So there are lots of ways that we can do it. Let's start at the top level. For a double degree or concurrent degree, there are certain degrees that are already sanctioned by NUS that you can try to do. For example, a very common one is to do computer science with math, okay? Or information systems or business analytics with economics. Those are very common. But you can also do a self-design case, or you can go overseas. There's this program that we have called the FDDP, French Double Degree Program, that allows you to get a degree from NUS as well as one of the elite universities in France. Scaling down a little bit, instead of getting 2 degrees, you could do a double major or a second major. These are equivalent terms, okay? So there are some prescribed ones that NUS already has. but you can also design your own, okay? So aside from those, there are plenty of minor programs that you can do from other faculties. Common ones include ones from math and statistics and economics. These are all close by to the sphere of computer science. For a second major, we basically have to take up about half of the program requirements, okay? So remember, program requirements is that blue section of the pie that takes 80 units or about 2 years to accomplish. So the second major will take half of that time, okay? Again, only double counting is allowed in these types of cases, and at least 12 of the units have to be at level 3000 to satisfy depth as well as breadth, okay? Because of the fact that a second major generally takes longer, the residency requirement is higher. So instead of 50% that you have to take here at SoC, there's another 10% that you have to do here at SoC, okay? For minors, it's a little less. So instead of taking 80 units of program requirements, we only take 1/4, okay? Basically 20 units or about 1 term. Okay, so about 5 courses, okay? Of which those courses have to be at least 2 of them or 8 units, okay? If we take a standard course, can be used to meet the requirements for both the minor and a major or second major, okay? So there's some double counting there. And at least 12 units have to be taken from outside the set of courses that are listed for that major, okay? Again, just like for a second major, you have a higher minimum number of percentage of total units that have to be taken from within NUS. Sometimes students want to change how much work they do, okay? Again, the standard is to take 20 units or about 5 courses a semester. Some students want to take less, okay? If you take less than 18, you have to get permission from us, okay? And it's not granted in the early stages, meaning the first 2 years, you should be trying to meet the regular workload. Otherwise, it'll be very difficult to graduate and you might run into maximum candidature problems, okay? For maximum permissible workload in the first semester of study, okay, we have 20 free units. So we don't want people to overload too much if you're doing a single major, and up to 27 units for those doing NUS college or doing a double degree of some sort. Note, very importantly, if you have a class and another class that has small conflict in time, for example, a tutorial overlapping, or maybe their exams clash on the same day, we unfortunately cannot support that. We have sufficient number of students and a number of classes that we can slot people in the classes that we can give them. But if we are to try to deconflict all of your requests, we won't be able to actually execute all of the classes. So you need to make sure that you plan your workflow accordingly. When the timetable comes out, please investigate how you can take your classes that you want, given the exam timetable as well as the class timings, including tutorial. Now, there's a component of your program requirements that will also allow you to do industrial experience, okay? These are really important because it helps people in industry get to know you and also vouch for you when you're applying for jobs. Plan very early, okay, to take these compulsory internships and avoid the delay of your graduation. Do it early in year 3 or year 2, if possible, okay? And there was no internship that's allowed in your final graduating semester. The reason being is you're searching for a job already. There's no point in getting practical experience before completing your degree, okay? Because you're going to get it in your job anyways, okay? So if you want to extend your candidature, okay, because you want to pull up your GPA or you want to do an additional term, even if you've already satisfied all of the program requirements, you can apply, okay? You can do that by writing to us at the undergraduate office, and you're still subject to your minimum workload requirements of at least 18 units, okay? And in your final semester, because you're doing this extra work, you have to take non-introductory level classes. All right, so those were the heavy parts. Let's go through the lighter parts, all right? So course registration is next. So everyone knows that in NUS and other universities, there are popular courses and not so popular courses. So how do I make sure that I can get the courses I want? Well, the answer is you have to plan. And the second answer is, well, sometimes you're not lucky enough as well, okay? But by planning, we can mitigate that, okay? There's the website for course registration that you'll be asked to go and register, and your preference and priority score is based on these three components, okay? The curricular needs, which is your A, okay? The seniority that you have, which is B, and your course preference, your own priority for a course, that's C, okay? So let's see how this works in practice. Priority scoring is just a simple multiplication of these three numbers, okay? So for example, if you're in a program that is UTown or NUSC, this counts as 1. If you happen to be a year 4 student, almost graduating or things of this sort, that's also counted as 1. If you put that course as first rank, then it counts as 1. So in this case, this 1 times 1 times 1 equals 1, right? So this means you'll be most highly ranked. For a person in this case, you will definitely get the course that you selected, okay? But you can see there are other cases. For example, you can see here, you're doing a major course or faculty requirement, or doing it for a second major or some type of minor, then there's lower priority for you to take that course, okay? You can fix that again over here by doing it in a later year, right? So going further up the ladder, you have a higher priority, okay? And the same is true here, right? If you rank the course lower down, it will be accordingly a smaller number, okay? So when there are more than one student that ends up with the same score, we still need to break ties, even after that multiplication. So we look for extenuating circumstances to bump students to take the courses for the remaining spaces. They could be students who haven't really finished their minimum workload yet, okay? So weren't able to get classes in the earlier rounds, okay? So we fill them in at the last minute. Students' home faculty, if the course is the host faculty is the one giving that course. So you'll have a preference to take SoC courses. Whether you have course feedback courses, points, and then finally, random balloting. Now, let's say you've received a course that you balloted for or asked for. You can drop a course later on, okay? You can drop a course without grade penalty by the end of week 2, okay? If you decide you still want to stay on the course, but after the midterms, maybe around recess week, you don't feel very comfortable, then you can drop it with a withdrawn grade. Okay, a withdrawn grade is shown on your transcript, but it doesn't count against your grade point average and your classification. Okay, if you try to withdraw anytime after that, okay, at week 7, after midterms or after recess week, then you will receive an F. Okay, so make sure even when you're trying to drop a course that you still are going to meet the 18-unit requirement for the semester. So university is much more than just courses. It's important to develop a network of lifelong friends, and explore and find out what you're passionate about. You might be thinking about what employers look for, so let's watch this short video from Google.
Well, good afternoon, Mr. Fitz.
How you doing, Ben?
Great. We're not going to introduce ourselves again because we already did.
Did we?
We did.
Okay.
Let's do the next question on your excellent G-pad there.
G-pad.
Love the G-pad.
Don't leave home without it. Okay. So, what are the qualities you look for in a prospective employee? Well, clearly dashing good looks and a nice lab coat is a good start.
and banjo.
Banjo, yes.
Absolutely. No. So what I always tell folks, when I'm doing interviews at least, is that people who do programming, computer science, there's this long sliding scale of extreme practical experience all the way to extreme theoretical experience, right? And that on the one end of the extreme, you might have somebody who just got a PhD in computer science and can write essays on computational complexity, but you ask them to write 5 lines of code on the whiteboard and they can't.
Right.
On the other extreme, you've got somebody who's maybe been programming a microprocessor in a cell phone for 20 years and is so incredibly specialized and amazing at writing assembly language, but they've forgotten all the theory they've ever learned, right? And so Google is looking for someone in the middle, right, who's got theory at their fingertips, but also has some practical experience and can write good code. And
Right.
that's what our interview process
Well,
is
I mean,
about.
we often talk about generalists, right?
Right.
And the example I use is that we don't want somebody to sort of describe what a generalist is. We don't want somebody who knows how to fix the model 400 XYZ of the Acme dishwasher.
Right.
Right? And then the model 500 XYZ comes out and they're at a complete loss as to what to do, right? We want somebody who understands how dishwashers work and can build a dishwasher, fix a dishwasher,
Figure out new models. as they
figure
come
out a new model as they
Yeah.
come out, and sort of roll with the
Right.
the dishwashing innovation. as it
So
was.
we're going to look on your resume for proof that some sign of generalism, right? That you've got practical experience, you've got theoretical experience, and that you're able to learn new things and adapt. And then the theory
Right.
then is that, if Google hires you, they're hiring you as a generalist, and the theory is that they could put you on any project and that you would do pretty well,
Right.
And that you could move between projects. And people do, in fact, move between projects.
But beyond that, we look for someone who's a good fit for Google in the long haul. Okay, so skills and experience are important, but you got to be a good fit for the company, for the culture. We work in the internet, right? The internet world is a very disruptive world. A lot of change, a lot of new stuff's constantly coming up. You sort of have to be able to learn new things and roll with the punches, so to speak.
And play well with others, which is not always a given.
Right.
So-
Well, that's important. But the other thing is that we want to look for something that's going to make you stand out. Right. That's what
Right.
we look for in a prospective candidate. Whether it's an interesting hobby or an accomplishment or some leadership thing
Right.
you've done.
Because we see a lot of resumes that just, are just full of millions of generic acronyms, and they all kind of look the same after a while. So
Right.
Figure out some way to distinguish yourself that says, I not only know what I'm doing, but here's something interesting that proves I have a passion for computer science.
Right.
That's another thing I always say
Or
to
not even
folks.
just computer science. I mean, it can be anything.
Engineering in general.
Yeah,
right?
engineering in general.
So, I always tell people, or I always think to myself when I'm interviewing somebody, if this person were a millionaire and did not have to work at all,
Yeah.
would they still be playing around on the computer? Would they still be writing code or doing engineering things for fun? And if so, then that's the kind of person I want to work with.
Right. Is it their passion?
Is it their passion, right? They're not just doing it because they have to, pay the rent. So,
Well, and we come from the open source world, so that's
Right.
something that we are particularly looking out for in people. We find that people who write open source code are often a good fit for Google.
they're passionate.
Because you're not going to spend your spare time writing software if you're not good at it, right?
Or if you're not passionate about it,
If you're not passionate about it. So those are two qualities that tend to fall in to people that write software in their spare time, I'd say.
So it's not a requirement that you work on open source or something.
Right.
It's just that's just an example of something that might stand out on a resume.
Right. So good fit, solid skills and experience, good fit for the long haul especially, and you've typically done something outstanding.
Yeah. Great.
All right.
We'll see you next
Come
time.
back soon.
Okay, so SoC does try to meet all of these standards that industry practitioners like Google and others say are important. Right, not just the courses, but ways to show leadership, show outstanding work in one way, or contribute back. Okay, so I'm going to talk about a couple of these things, not all of them, but there are plenty of different ways that you can ask your peers, your mentors, whether they be student mentors or faculty mentors about any of these. So first of all, most importantly, there are student clubs and interest groups. So the key one that works most closely with our faculty is the NUS Computing Club. They host, for example, Rag and Flag. So over on the right side, you see a picture of the float that they had to create from recycled materials, as well as all the members involved in creating that float. Aside from that, we have a number of different special interest groups and clubs that are more detailed, okay? So ones that go through the student chapter of the ACM or deal with security like Gray Hats or business IT, okay? There is also the voluntary computing organization, welfare organization, CVWO, which allows you to do work that is going to benefit other organizations. It's also important to recognize there's overseas experience as well, okay? So overseas experience means any one of these places are a place where you could possibly go as well, okay? We have people who've traveled all over the world for their student exchange to different cultures and met with lifelong friends that they kept in touch with for their lifetime. To help you get there, one of the things that you can start with is in year one, summer, is take Orbital. That's our internal code name for Independent Software Development Project, okay? This is an initiative that you do over the summer with a partner, okay? You work in pairs, and you just try to design an application that's of interest to you. It could be, for example, a web application that's backed by a database to keep track of things to do or things you want to buy, etc. And every student has to go through this process who takes Orbital. You learn how to propose, to communicate with your partner and with evaluating teams because it is peer graded. Learn what's necessary to do the project on your own, you know, and to deliver what you decided to promise to do, okay? And this will come out of the project as CSCU, okay? So it's not for letter grade, but it looks very good to have completed an application which you can then showcase employers on your resume or even demo it in some cases. So after you take Orbital, or if you already have some type of programming practical experience, then it's time to take internships. Internships come in 3 different forms: ATAP, IIP, and SIP. The differences are a little bit detailed, so we're not going to talk about it too much here, okay? The important thing for us is to differentiate the 6-month course ones, which are ATAP and IIP, and the ones that are 3 months, which are student internship program or SIP. Now, to help you get internships, sometimes these are driven on your own, okay? Rather than the NUS computing list them for you and you apply, sometimes you have to go search for it on your own. So actually, we have quite a lot of students who have done very well by going overseas, for example, to the UK, to the US, or Australia, Japan, to do software engineering as well as many other types of forms of internship. Okay, so you can check out this link. This is by a previous School of Computing Club president who's created a website to help people understand, students, how to get a well-paying internship. I mean, some of these internships, they may pay you more than $5,000 a month US in order to do the work that they've asked you to do. And you do that while training, so that's great. You can also, just like Google said, build open source or help to do volunteer work. There's lots of organizations that need computing and not everyone can pay for it. So we have organized courses, for example, CP 3107 and 3110, okay? These are all courses that help organizations in Singapore or in Southeast Asia develop software applications that they can use. Okay, you can also do this, as Google said in their talk, by doing open source work, by programming and putting all of your intellectual property open for other people to use. Okay, you can do this as part of this Google Summer of Code, and you can do this in a way that meets both the internship requirements as well as course requirements. Going overseas is great, but how about going overseas to learn how to be an entrepreneur? That's the call to action from NUS Overseas College, or NOC. You do a full year, 6-month or 3-month internship in a startup company, okay? And you do it overseas. A lot of this mapping will also help you with the compulsory internship industrial experience requirement that we have, okay? And you can do this being overseas for a year, understanding both culturally and what the work-life environment it is. And there are many, many different choices to choose from. Of course, the most well-known is in Silicon Valley, where a lot of our students are in high demand for getting jobs that are well-paying. So you can also come back or stay within SoC to take courses on digital entrepreneurship, and also do the industry and experience practicum at SoC, where it allows you up to 10,000 Singapore dollars of seed money to develop and validate an idea. We have an incubator within SoC that can take these types of projects, and those of you who are interested to embark on this business journey at the Furnace. That's not the only thing that you can do, okay, for experience. You can also try to go deeper into research. I mean, SoC is very well known for its research acumen as well. So we have many supervisors, including myself and others, who help students invent and create and discover new opportunities. You can take this in Europe, which is modeled after MIT's similarly named module, Undergraduate Research Opportunity Program, as well as in your final year project if you choose to do that. So let me play for you a short video from one of the FYP projects. Project is actually a light table. So one of those monitors that you see using your hands, your fingers, all as if you were stand on the fun of NUS human computer interactions. The digital medium is a lot of interesting things that you couldn't do it here. So again, what do employers look for? Let's take a look from another vantage point from KPMG.
In particular, in a resume, what we look for is a balanced, what I call a balanced scorecard. Great GPAs are always great to have, but then other activities, whether it's leadership positions on campus, job-related responsibilities, summer employment. Also, one thing we look at is, do you have international experience? We're always looking for people who want exposure international or have had exposure international, whether it's culturally or being bilingual or multilingual. Those are things that we would key on. If you prepare for the interview, researching the website, you might learn something about KPMG, whether it's international opportunities or various service lines, so forth and so on. And I think asking intelligent, well-prepared questions that don't look rehearsed at the same time, I think are appropriate to do. During the 30-minute initial interview, it's a professional interview, and maintaining that professionalism, yet being relaxed at the same time, and letting your personality and speaking off your resume to allow that to happen, I think is important. So never think you can let your guard down because you're feeling a lot comfortable in that first 15 or 20 minutes. It's still a very professional interview, and you want to portray throughout the whole entire period professionalism.
Okay, we're going to head to the final section of challenges and advice now. So we have staff on hand, faculty who can help you with academic advising. There are lots of questions that you might want to ask about your program, like whether you want to enrich it with dual degree program or French double degree program, concurrent degree program, or maybe you want to go overseas for student exchange or do a specialization within your major, do a minor or a second major in another discipline. Maybe you want to look at entrepreneurship. We've talked a little bit about this in this slide deck, but maybe you want to see whether there are other ways that you could go about it. Having a guide is always a great idea. You might be interested in a career, a well-paid one. So what types of careers help prepare you for one as a senior software engineer or a consultant that travels? Or maybe you want to do research, you want to go farther than just applying computer science, but doing cutting edge technology. How do I go about getting research experience, in addition to Europe and FYP? And if you want to take it further, after doing those things, do you want to do a PhD? Okay, all of these things are things that you can talk to an academic advisor, including things like being able to survive in SoC. This is a common problem because so many of us are very talented students wherever we came from. But when we come here, this is such a large pool of good students. Somebody will be at the lower end of the stick, and it can be frustrating and difficult to be able to handle that pressure. So all of these types of things, the academic advising unit can try to do. You can get in touch with us. Right now, it's being pioneered more from students' perspective. So your student groups, such as the Computer Club, Computing Club, and NUS Hackers and others, will be the ones helping you in case you have problems and also helping you find an academic advisor. So some quick advice for passing a course. It's very clear that many students who come from examination-only places for A levels and O levels, they don't worry about having to do well in continuous assessment, but that's actually very critical. And continuous assessment can take many forms, such as assignments, tutorial attendance, and midterms and tests and quizzes. Make sure if you do miss your exam for any type of valid reason to submit a special consideration form. Okay, for example, if you're sick or ill, you weren't able to go to the examination, then you have to log into EduRec and fill out the form and apply for it early so that when the grades come out, then you can be given a special consideration to either take an alternate form of assessment or retake the course or exam in the following semesters. Every year, about 5% of our freshmen really face some academic problems, okay? Because it's, again, very competitive, being very high-powered student, which most of you are, to earn the right to study in this school computing. There are still students who struggle, right? So if you have a GPA below 2 after the first semester, or about a C average, you should come and talk with us so that we can help you diagnose the problems. So many of them we interviewed, and we wanted to understand what got them into these difficulties so we can share this advice from your seniors who have turned it around with you. No real difficulties. I just didn't want to study. I was lazy and just wanted to enjoy university life, right? To turn this around, this student had to start studying and take an interest in programming early on because those programming courses serve the foundations for later on, okay? First time I did it, I didn't do any work at all. I didn't attend lectures or tutorials, especially when I have to come directly after A-levels. This was a sudden influx. It's a bit hard to grasp in spite of being warned that uni would be like this. So university is very different from other institutions of higher learning that you've been through before, you know, JC or poly or secondary school, because, you know, it's much more freeform. You get to take the initiative or not, right? So you have to stick back to the basics and do what you've learned to do previously. Don't take it on, rest on your laurels, and make sure you do attend the tutorials, lectures, and recitations. Make sure you start things earlier where possible, because this is a good sign that you can handle the work. I had difficulty understanding programming as a whole. You know, I couldn't understand it piecemeal. Therefore, learning a new language like JavaScript was almost the same as learning a new language, right? So the idea here is that there are some fundamentals or foundations which all programming languages have to have. And if you realize and understand and comprehend these patterns, it will help you whenever you have to learn a new language. To do that, you can attempt all the tutorial questions and try to clarify questions that you have during tutorials. You can talk with your tutorial mates to better understand what's going on, and that will help as a result to increase your self-confidence. Other problems include complacency and adaptability that we heard before, right? Besides adopting to a brand new school, I had to juggle between a new social life and completely different from JC, and the ways of studying a course pretty much independently. So if you're not sure about how to do that, just like the previous offer said, you know, try to stick to the basics. Go to class, go to recitation and tutorial. Don't be complacent. Practice, 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 be consistent, and keep on asking questions. You know, you can ask your lecturer in particular. They're there to help you. Keep the programs that you practice. Realize your mistakes. Remember what you did wrong, correcting them, and keep going on. So every year, because the first year is grade free, okay, people abuse this in the wrong way. Grade free is there to allow you to transition easily into the university without needing to worry about grades, and also to let you experiment, meaning that new things that you want to try, you can do it without the stress of getting grades. However, grade free definitely does not mean without any effort, okay? We've seen people do it, and you've heard from your seniors, you know, they may take too many or too difficult courses or get too relaxed at the mid-semester, because at that point in time, there's not a lot of work that you need to do, okay? Because by the time the middle of the semester comes up, there starts to be midterms, exams, projects, homework assignments that build on the earlier part, even though that was a false slow start in some ways. Very important as well is to learn your basics extremely well. You will continue to need it. For example, upper level classes really do assume that you have programming and problem solving in your background and that you can do these without even thinking about it. But if you do worry and you struggle, don't worry too much, okay? Get help. There's some self-care guidelines here. First, don't overload yourself. We don't need to take all of those classes, just the ones that we need to do to make sure we can graduate, okay? Make sure you work consistently throughout the semester. Don't wait to cram it all at the end. Where possible, you can normalize how well you're doing by working with others in a group. Try to pick courses that suit your strengths and research the courses before you sign up. And remember, very importantly, if you take a course that you don't think really fits your cup of tea, you can drop it with a W grade, okay, before recess week, before week 7, okay? Remember also that you have to have the minimum workload of 18 units a semester in order to finish off your degree appropriately. And that's it. This concludes our briefing. You can look through the rest of the slides for more information about where to find resources, as well as the various offices that we have in SoC. The course briefing slides will be deposited in the URLs that we showed you at the beginning, and we'll show you again at the end of the slides, but also at this particular location, which is available for everyone in the public to see. You will also be getting your student accounts very soon, an NUS net account, which is a university level account, and in certain cases, an SoC Unix account, one that's specific to our school. If you have any queries about the computer accounts or general queries about undergraduate matters, you can come find us at socug@comp.nus.edu.sg. Here are all the contacts for our undergraduate studies office. Again, the email address is repeated there. Our industry relations, which handles in a large part internships for undergraduate students. They're located in the dean's office upstairs in Com 1 level 3. Our career advisory, which is very centrally located, just step through the glass doors on level 1 and you'll see the career advisory on your left at Com 1 level 1, unit 2-3. Our Office of Student Life or Wellness, they're also located in the same office as our undergraduate staff. And then university level services like UCS for university counseling services and wellness. If you're feeling stressed, can't handle things, they would like to talk to you. And that's it for this briefing. Again, you can find today's slides and the video of this entire recording at the 2 QR codes or addresses below. And there are coming up webinars on July 10th from 10 to 12. So make sure you follow the meeting etiquette posted here. Thanks so much, and I wish you a great day ahead.